when people act in life, at times they don't calculate the implications of everything they are doing, especially if you are emotional about it, you're angry, you make decisions. But you need to stop as a leader and say, what are the implications of the decisions I'm going to make? Let me give an example. If we didn't have Mbeki in office, who believed in serving the people and not himself, who believed in the mission to renew the African continent, who believed in changing the conditions of lives of people and the economies, and was not there for his personal gain. If we had a different person, and you said we are recalling you, he could have said, well, I'm not leaving. You don't have powers to recall me. You would have to go to Parliament, and Parliament may not have got the two-thirds majority to take him out of office. And so we could have had a crisis that would have culminated in people in the streets. People could have died. And I do indicate in the book as well that there were other people who were thinking of what I call foolish things. And you can see that when people are angry and make a decision, they don't think about all the implications. I was sitting there and doing that analysis and saying, well, we have a crisis here. Fortunately, Mr. Mbeki said, I am not going to stay an hour longer than what my party requires me to do. So I will voluntarily resign. And that helped us. So I just felt at that moment that indeed I was flying this plane. There were other planes around. There were no control mechanisms. And people really didn't analyze the implications of what they were doing.
You know what I found sad, though, or perhaps unfortunate, and you've just made reference to it, is the fact that there are times when you don't give us the detail. There are times when you say there are people who were thinking about doing foolish things without saying what those foolish things were.
Yeah, there are details that are not in the book. And I think maybe we should give it time. You see, you'll have to interview people, you'll have to talk to different characters, players. I didn't want to mention people's names. You realize in the book that I also say I didn't want to be a lightning conductor to get ordinary people to be victims as well. You want to limit the number of victims. But there is also the issue about when you are in that office, you've got confidential information, you've got intelligence information, which you can't use in a book. And I can only say that we came close to destabilizing the country. And the key thing, my task, which Mbeki made clear to us for those who were running government, was to stabilize the country, make sure there is stability. That's why the following Monday, the first thing that was done was to call the chiefs of the army, the police, the intelligence services to come and meet the president before he left office to say, we would want you to make sure there's stability. I am leaving as the chief the commander-in-chief, but make sure the country is safe. There was a determination to make sure. And you see also there's a paragraph there that deals with this white friend who left the country a week before, comes back, the president is gone, there's another president. And he says, I was surprised I arrived at the airport. And the airport is running, the cars are in the streets, the country is normal. And we must count ourselves lucky. Sure. Because anything could have gone wrong in another country.
Yeah, let's go back to that Saturday morning when you had driven from Soweto. In fact, you were preparing for a wedding that day. You had driven and you go back to the Mahlambandlovu. You sit in what you refer to as the historic lounge. You are waiting for the president to emerge together with Advocate Mujanku Gumbi. The president emerges, and part of what you say to the president is that Segunjalo, i.e. the NSC at Essendon Park has made a decision.
Yeah.
The reaction that you say the president gave to you was nothing other than the fact that he said, I do not believe that a true cadre of the ANC can do that. I'm wondering whether you are limited by that ethics, that you can't tell us more about what the president said.
Well, the president, as you know, Mbeki in his character would not say too much about a thing like that. But I mean, he just expressed his views. He went to sleep knowing there's a debate, and the outcome came out during the early morning of that day. And then he woke up into it. And we said sekunjalo because it is a decision that was already made. But you know, the interesting thing, and I do spend time looking at Mbeki himself in this regard, that he really did not believe that the cadre of the movement as he knows it. And I think it's the type of cadre who came from exile and he spent lots of time with them, would made a decision like that. In the same way as he didn't believe that the cadre of the movement would make a decision like in Polokwane. I think what he missed, and I've always said that, is that the cadre of the movement has changed. It's not that person who was ready to die for a cause which had nothing to do with personal interest. We're now in government, and there are personal interest in it. There is power, which we didn't have. There are positions, which we didn't have. There is money, which we didn't have. There are tenders. There are many things that are happening in government. And I don't think we planned properly to prepare the cadre of the movement for taking government. Indeed, we have ready to govern documents. There were processes done, but we couldn't imagine the type of challenge we're going to face. So I think that's where he got it wrong. He thought that cadre of the movement remained the same, but we have a different cadre of the movement.
So when he repeats this belief that no true cadre of the movement could make a decision like that, what is he saying? Is he telling you that I do not believe what you just said now?
No, he accepted that it has happened and that he didn't believe it could happen, but it has happened, and he had to accept the consequences thereof. That's why he said, no, I'll wait for them to come and I'll accept their decision and I will resign.
And they were on their way, because there was a delegation coming at about 9 o'clock, a delegation of Secretary General Gwede Mantashe and now Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, I did my job. My job was to come there, meet him first, because we didn't want them to wake him up during the night to give him this information. We thought we must be in the house. When he wakes up, he must hear it first from us, not from the news, and then wait for the delegation to come and give him the official position. I had to leave at that time because I had to go back to the wedding. But in any way, the meeting between him and the party would not be government, so I wouldn't be required. My staff wouldn't sit through that type of a meeting, which happened at 9. And then 10 o'clock, I was running the wedding, came back in the afternoons to then come and execute the decisions that he has made.
You come back, describe the house, describe the atmosphere when you came back from the wedding.
You know, when I came back, I mean, people had already gathered in the house. I describe it in the book. I mean, it felt like a place where death has occurred. You know, in an African setting, people come in, they don't make appointments. They were flooding in the house. All the rooms had people around, sitting rooms outside in the gardens. And it was almost like a moment of despair and frustration and concern. Some came purely because they were concerned about him as a human being. Some are friends. Some were angry. You can get all sorts of reactions out of it. And we had to come in, greet them, retreat to that special lounge where we had to say, do we go from here? This is government. Remember, we running government. It wasn't a party activity. And we had to then sit there and look at all the consequences, the legal issues, and decide on what we're going to do.
As you were describing the atmosphere, I just started thinking about whether or not perhaps you think people do not understand the depth of the pain that people suffered as a result of this decision.
Yeah. No, there was lots of pain. Pain for himself, pain for people who worked with him. Remember, even if there were politics out there in the party, people still worked with a human being. There were those people who loved him. There were those people who appreciated what he was doing for the country. And so the anger of some people within the party didn't translate to the nation. Remember, this was not a national problem. It was a party problem. And as a result, there was lots of pain. Even the calls that were coming out, we couldn't field all the calls which were coming and say, what has happened? How could the ANC do this? Why should they do this to Mbeki? This and the other. We had to even keep him away from all the flood of information that was coming, and had to be cool, look at strategic questions to make sure the country stabilizes.